All right, we live, we live. What's good, Ohio Cannabis Report family? It's your boy Gerald Moore Jr. back with another live episode of the Ohio Cannabis Report. It's been a few days. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I know it's a lot going on in the world. It's a lot to keep up with. So we're doing our best to keep up with and keep track of all the things going on in the cannabis space in Ohio and beyond. Obviously, cannabis is something that it's not new, right? It's just something that's been underground. It's been something that has been um, criminalized and demonized in American society for, over 60 years. And so obviously the hemp farm bill passed in 2018 under Joe Biden. And basically, when the hemp farm bill passed, it created a loophole, right? Because again, they created it. There's over 50,000 different uses of cannabis, right? And the hemp plant. And so obviously, it can be used for industrial purposes, right? Paper products, plastics, fuel. It could be used to remediate and clean the soil and water and air. Like there's so many different industrial applications to the hemp plant. But what happened was there was a way to exploit that where people could grow hemp and use hemp for medicinal purposes, right, or for recreational purposes. While also we have states passing legal cannabis laws, where whether it's medical or recreational adult use. Obviously, California has been one of the longest standing. You have Portland. You have it's over 25, I believe, different states that have legal adult use or medical cannabis. But when the federal hemp bill passed, that basically opened up the floodgates because one, you can't really decipher between the difference between hemp and cannabis, right? Like police officers, if they see you and you have hemp, they don't know that it's weed, right? Like they don't, there's no tests. And then also with it being federally legal, now hemp products could be shipped and sold through the mail, right? So if you live in a state that's not legal, you can have products that can be, gummies, it can be flour, it can be vape, it can be edibles. Obviously, it can be tinctures, it can be topicals, lotions, all types of things. And now those things can be sent into the mail. You also have doctors, right, prescribing CBD and different cannabinoids to their patients, in a lot of different forms. So that loophole really was a game changer, and a lot of people didn't really understand it. Um, and that was one of the biggest plays that Biden made was making hemp legal because again, it allowed one, it's a plant, so it should be legal, right? Like it's like tomato, right? Like if I want to grow as many tomatoes, like I should be able to grow tomatoes. If I want to grow romaine lettuce, if I want to be able to grow onions and peppers, and herbs, cannabis is right there in that, right? And so that's essentially what the hemp farm bill did. But also, we have to understand that hemp and cannabis and weed and all that is bigger than that, right? It's bigger than just drugs. Like cannabis or the hemp itself, right, can create other products, right? You have hempcrete, right, which we need more sustainable ways of developing housing and building housing. Well, hempcrete is very sustainable. It is also fire resistant, right? And so also you have hemp for feed, animal bedding. But unfortunately, in America, all of our logistics and systems are so convoluted and so, manufactured already. You have to come up with the whole pipeline of the industry for hemp products, right? So first you have to get a farmer to be able to grow hemp, right? You can use hemp for clothing. And so you have to and there's different types of hemp, right? That you have to source, and then you have to be able to grow that, and then you have to be able to harvest it, right? But then you need a processor, right? So you need somebody to take that hemp and somebody that's going to be willing to process that hemp and turn that hemp into something else. Um, and then you need somebody to distribute that and then somebody to market and sell it, right? You need the whole thing. So 2018 comes, the hemp farm bill passes. Most people, right? We got the opioid epidemic. We just came off the housing crisis in 2008. Like we just came off of wars. So one, you got people that need weed because weed is more cost effective medicine than the opioids. It's healthier long term than the opioids. Then you're in pain, but you can't keep going back to the doctor asking for pain pills because now the doctors are getting handcuffed because of the opioid epidemic. And so you need pain relief, right? And you are dealing with chronic pain. You're dealing with chronic ailments and illnesses. Disclaimer: this is news, entertainment, information purposes only. I am not a doctor. I am just simply a normal citizen reporting to you guys my thoughts, my ideas, and some news sources before I get too long-winded. And so again, when you look at the healthcare system, right, a doctor has to write you a script for you to go get your medication. Then the medication is dispensed by a pharmacist. And that pharmacist has a certification, like to be able to read the script from the doctor or from the hospital and to be able to give you the right dosage of medicine. And that's how our system has always worked. With cannabis, right? Like my dosage of cannabis is going to be different than everybody else's, right? Or somebody might just want CBD, right? Somebody might just want CBN, or CBG. There's so many different cannabinoids in the plant. So when you understand like what has happened, like, you know, it just opened the floodgates essentially. And so what they're trying to do is reel it back in because, oh my God, like, you know what I mean? Like people are getting weed at the gas station. Kids are going to get weed at the gas station. You know what I mean? Like, people are growing it and it's like, yeah, like one, cannabis is a cash crop, right? Um, Two, cannabis is a medicine. It's a healing mechanism. And the reason they got rid of it in the first place was to disrupt what was happening, right? Black folks were gaining wealth quickly, right? Black folks wasn't going to the hospital or to the doctor like that. We was medicating ourselves. You think about it, the indigenous people, they medicate themselves. You know what I mean? Herbs, vegetables, eating right, living off nature, living in nature. And so what is everybody trying to get back to, right? Oh, we need to meditate, yoga, herbs, natural remedies, cybacillin. But what are people trying to do? Now we're trying to market it and sell it as a lifestyle, right? When it should be open to everybody, right? And so that's why I don't really agree with the Ohio cannabis industry right now, the legal side, because again, they are hamstringing the industry by not educating the masses. They're hamstringing the industry by not allowing craft growers to actually grow and participate in the legal market. They're hamstringing the industry with, you know, not having tier 3, not having a true caregiver program, not having consumption lounges, not having delivery, not having marketing and advertising, not educating folks that, hey, cannabis is a way safer and better alternative, which is not even an alternative, but remedy to the trauma, the pain, the PTSD, the anxiety, the depression, the stress, which is also causing other health issues, where cannabis is going to be way better than the 20 pills that you got to take. But again, if you got all these people on 20 pills, that's taking money out of the pharmaceutical industry's hands. That's taking money out of doctors' hands. That's taking money out of the health industrial complex, right? The prison system, because now more people are more stable-minded, right? Like you're more balanced, and so people aren't drinking as much, right? I work with App Girls Cannabis. Shout out to App Girls Cannabis. And so what we're learning through App Girls is that, you know, obviously we are in bars, restaurants, drive-throughs, corner stores, basically anywhere alcohol can be sold. But we also are in different spots, and a lot of the business owners are telling us like not as many people are buying alcohol, so people are buying this. Well, then Ohio bans hemp, or the governor does an executive order to ban hemp. Then there's a judge that blocks that order because again, the judge gets sued, or the governor gets sued by a few corporations, because now you have corporations that have dumped hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars into this industry now that is legal, and they are making money and they are hiring people. There's whole industries being born now, and now you're going to tell us we can't sell it, and now you're going to turn us all into criminals. And so again, that's the loophole that was exposed, and now they're trying to reverse it, which essentially you really can't do, right? Like, um, and so, but unfortunately, the education doesn't get out there, right? And that's why I do try to do Ohio Cannabis Report as much as possible, because a lot of people live in fear, right? So they'll blast shit out to the news media, like, oh, it's an executive order to do this. And it's like, so most people live in fear, like, oh, I heard or I saw that they did this, so now it's illegal. And it's like, no, it's not. The law is the law, right? Ohio, issue 2, the law is the law. They are trying to pass bills to change the law, right? To curb the law, but what we passed is law, right? And even me, like, I'm still learning civics, right? Like, I grew up in Washington, D.C. My parents work for federal government, but we really don't know politics like that. And I've been learning a lot more about state and local politics living in Ohio comparative to growing up in Maryland and going to school in Washington, D.C. And so once you start to learn like the state politics, you realize that's really where the power is, right? Because again, the federal government is giving down orders, giving down money, resources, and shit like that. But it's really, the states is where all the power is. So Ohio, we have 11.8 million people. We had 2.7 million people vote for cannabis. That's more people that voted for cannabis that voted for the current governor, right? So once you start to look at the data, you start to look at the numbers, you start to look at the money that is being made and moved around, and how and the lobbying and the backdoor politics and the golf outings and the executive lunches and the executive fundraisers and corporate meetings in all different spaces, you start to realize how shit go. And unfortunately, the average person doesn't know how to find shit, right? They're not researching, they're not looking shit up. And so the only people that are at these events typically are people that are for hire for said corporations, right? So they're doing the bidding for said corporation. And that's why independent journalism, independent media is important. And that's why I started Ohio Cannabis Report, because I realized, if they're going to make the industry a limited license, right? Meaning that we only have a certain amount of licenses for cultivators, processors, dispensaries, laboratories. So the average person, one, couldn't even afford to even apply because the licensing fee was so high. Then the average person can't afford to lose that licensing application fee, because 50 grand, 100 grand plus lawyer fees, plus management fees, plus the build out, plus having the land, having the resources, knowing that you're going to need at least 2 to 10 million on the low end. Then you got people, True Relieve, you got all these big ass companies coming in talking about some, oh yeah, we got 100 million, 200 million cash. And so that's why I started Ohio Cannabis Report, was kind of to report on some of those things that were happening, as this industry was being developed, in a way that I could say, well, it's independent. You know what I mean? Like, I do events sometimes. We've been creating the platforms on YouTube. And so the last 4 years, I haven't been as active because of family issues that we've had. But as I've, continued to progress the channels, the podcasts, and just learn on the go, like, I realized, like, damn, like, most people are really just not educated on how politics works, how business works. And a lot of people just got their head down just trying to figure it out. But cannabis is something like, it's like, yo, you really can't, like, telling somebody they can't grow and sell weed is crazy, especially after you done legalized it. And then especially as you realize, like, yo, this shit is like a fucking, it's a plant, bro. Like, it's literally a plant. But again, you got people that's for it, people that's against it, people that have no fucking clue, people that are empowered, that are 70, 80, 90 years old. You know what I mean? Talking about, well, the kids. Well, yeah, the kids should be taken care of by their parents, right? First and foremost. But guess what? A lot of these parents is fucking struggling to have money. You know what I mean? Because the economy's fucked up. Not everybody got a college degree. Not everybody's college degree is affording them a good lifestyle, right? So people is hustling 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs. You got people middle class working 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs. Now, again, I think people have to live below their means. And I think a lot of people in the United States end up living above their means and thinking like, oh, it's not going to be me. Like, oh, this government shutdown not going to impact me. Or this issue's not going to impact me. You know what I mean? So a lot of people kind of live blindly through life. And I'm old enough to know now, like, I done lived through everything. I was born in 1989, right? The end of the war on drugs, right? And so I grew up in that shit. My family, alcohol, drug, all of that shit. You see that. Poverty. Then you move to Maryland, all right, wealth, government, politics, private business, private corporations, government contractors, private schools and shit like that, professional sports. Moved to Ohio, moved to Appalachia, Athens, Ohio, and I was like, holy fuck. What the actual fuck is going on here? You know what I mean? Like, because black poverty and that shit, different. So, but Athens, I got introduced to Athens, Ohio. And so then, of course, that's where I fell in love with cannabis because we got Meigs County Gold. You got some of the best bud. I'm an athlete, so I got all access to as much tree as I want. Our backup quarterback was the biggest drug dealer on the team. You know what I mean? So you start to, then I get my degree in healthcare. I'm starting to learn about healthcare. Well, damn, they giving us all these pills over here. The whole team want to smoke some weed though, but that's illegal. That's bad. If you get drug tested and fail, your character flaw now. But we could do all the fucking Tylenol, ibuprofen. Motherfuckers is on what else? That shit people be taking in school that keep you focused. I forget the name of that shit, but everybody was on that shit. And then if you got caught with that and you didn't have a prescription, that fucks your eligibility up. But cannabis helps with focus too, right? That's why a lot of people consume it. A lot of people think, oh, you're just smoking weed to get high and all. Like, no, cannabis helps with a lot of different things, right? Cannabis helps some people focus. Cannabis helps some people relax their brain, relax their bodies, ease the pain. So, but that's why people have to share. You know what I mean? I think people, we still live in that kind of fear state where we've been demonized so much and criminalized so much behind cannabis. And it's been such a stigma in society that even coming out saying that you consume cannabis is an automatic like scarlet letter, right? So if you black, like if you me, like it's already, I'm already black. So, but then you mix in cannabis, then you mix in if I got my locks or I'm dressed in baggy clothes and I'm flashy, like it's all these things. And so, let me take this call real quick. So it's just a lot of that shit, man. Let me take this call real quick. Yo, we just working.
Yeah, for sure. the same as what they consider marijuana or cannabis, then they have to realize that it's the fucking same.
Yeah, but I mean, again, you just gotta educate. We gotta educate these dudes like on that.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's what I was just talking about on the show, man. Like, there's no education. Like, you can't just legalize something, and then there's what? Like, there was nobody that came out and truly gave. Like, so of course, yeah, it got exploited because people is in a pinch, so people want to smoke weed, right? But again, we didn't quadruple down on teaching people about the different industrial properties of the plant. You know, like I mean, what's the logistics or the processing, right? You got the farmers, so you got to get the farmers to grow it and then grow different types of hemp. But then you have to have the processors to actually process that hemp into something or to sell it to somebody. And then we just fucked up the whole China thing. So China is already, you know, like we're already screwed. So, you know, we're already 100 years behind. So it's like you trying to play catch up in something that you should have never criminalized in the first place. And now you fucked up because now the whole logistics plot is fucked up. You know, the whole supply chain.
You just got white boys doing dumb shit. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. But that's also, again, like, why you got to talk your shit? Because it's like, the fuck out the way.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly, man, look. And then Craig disappointed me the other day so bad, right?
Sorry, I had to go. I mean, as you can see, I'm always inundated with fucking conversations around this shit because, you know, I work in the space. I don't really call myself an industry person like that. I don't really consider myself an industry person like that because, like, I don't work in a dispensary or a cultivator. You know, when we got legalization, I was a stay-at-home dad. I'm a stay-at-home dad. You know what I mean? So then I was like, shit. We was in COVID. I was like, the internet, I could do this shit all day. You know what I mean? They told me to stay away, and I was like, I'm gonna create some platforms. So that's why I created Ohio Cannabis Report to really just disseminate the information that was coming down. While also just being able to share stories and shit, because I feel like that's the most important thing, like how people have been impacted by the war on drugs, how people have been impacted by all this shit that has gone on for the last 60 plus years around a fucking plant. You know what I mean? That really has benefits, right? And I'm all for like responsibility. I'm all for accountability at the core.